So first of all, just want to welcome everyone. Good afternoon. Offer you a warm welcome from the Women Scientists and Engineers Council, or WSEC, to all of you. So thank you for joining us for the 4th Women at the Lab ceremony. We're really thrilled to be here to recognize 15 of your lab colleagues for their outstanding contributions to the lab community and its mission. So of course, this year's celebration is a little different since we're virtual, but we hope you'll enjoy this ceremony and a special chance to join one of the breakout panels after the awards are handed out with the honorees. We'll have 3 breakout sessions that you can choose from. So today, first, we'll learn a bit about the Women Scientists and Engineers Council. Then we'll hear from each of WSEC's executive sponsors, and Lab Director Mike Witherell will introduce our first award presenter. First, I'd like to give you a brief background information on the Women at the Lab process. So for this year, in 2020, we received 98 nominations for 68 nominees, which is by far the most we've ever received. So the nominees were really an impressive group of people. We offer these honors in 5 categories: in operations and administration, the senior career level, mid-career level, early career, that's PhD less than 10 years, and then technical staff. We had a pretty good sized team of volunteers that worked really hard to evaluate all of the nominations that were submitted by all of the nominees' colleagues. The scoring is based on 4 criteria for every nominee. Number 1, professional performance. Number 2, leadership demonstrated. Number 3, mentoring. And number 4, outreach. And every year, this year is every year, the 15 honorees come from all of the areas across the lab. So before I hand it off, I'd like to express our gratitude to all of the volunteers who helped us evaluate those nominations. I'd also like to thank all of the nominators across the lab. We couldn't do this without, obviously, everyone's support and advocacy of outstanding women at the lab. So next, to provide some background of WSEC, I'd like to introduce Ina Reichel, the chair of our organization.
Thank you, Liz. Welcome everyone to Women at the Lab. I would like to very briefly introduce the Women Scientists and Engineers Council, who are hosts of this Women at the Lab event. The council was founded in 2008 by our founding mothers, scientists Natalie Rowe and Nancy Brown, and former HR director Vera Potapenko. Their goal was to increase the number of female scientists and engineers at the lab. The council consists of volunteer members and of division appointees to ensure we have representation from across the lab. Members do not need to be a scientist or engineer, or even a woman. We have members of all genders and across all job types. WSEC was founded before there were any employee resource groups, ERGs. When the lab introduced employee resource groups, the council was folded into that structure, so we are an ERG, although we don't have ERG in our name. The council has 3 active subcommittees: empowerment, chaired by Hang Dang and Rita Kuhl; networking, chaired by Terry Calarco and Liz Stewart; and policy, chaired by Steph Lowry and Juliane Reinhardt. The executive committee consists of those 6 co-chairs, our 2 secretaries, Lauren Louis and Susan Tsudekaba, the vice chair, Tammy Campbell, and the chair. I just want to briefly list a few of our accomplishments. Lactation rooms across the lab equipped with hospital-grade pumps. The Visible Spectrum series in Elements. Partnering with HR to make parental paid leave a reality for all employees. Partnering with organizational learning staff on training focused on microaggressions after we did a survey of our members on microaggressions. And of course, Women at the Lab. As an ERG, we have executive sponsors. Of course, Simon has been our executive sponsor from the time we became an ERG, and even before, he supported us when we were just a council. He used to meet with us annually and helped us with advice and achieving our goals. A few years ago, he was joined by Susan Hubbard as a second executive sponsor. We meet with both of them quarterly and are very grateful for their continuous support and advice. Horst has recently told us that he will be stepping down as our executive sponsor at the end of March. Engineering Division Director Henrik von der Lippe has agreed to serve in this role going forward. We would really like to thank Horst for all his help and the wonderful collaboration over the years. We probably wouldn't be where we are without his advocacy. And now I would like to hand it over to Horst to say a few words.
Thank you, Liz and Ina. It is really great to hear about the evolution of this group and of your terrific achievements over the last 13 years. I'd like to recognize Natalie Rowe and Nancy Brown, who were the original courageous forerunners of our lab's diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. And I'm pleased that now when we look across the lab, we see multiple ERGs, DEI training, and a mature idea initiative. All this can be traced back to the efforts of some of the original pioneers and the Women's Science and Engineering group. I also personally want to thank the WSEC leadership. As Ina pointed out, I met with you many times, and there were several of the meetings that gave inspiration to something not as momentous, but still important small steps in the right direction. So I remember one meeting with you when there was a concern about the lack of transparency in the scientific promotion process. And consequently, we have a WSEC representative on the lab staffing committee. Jessica Grandison served in this role for the last couple of years. And the second concern that came up in these conversations was a concern about the LDRD process. And I looked at the statistics, and indeed, women PIs were underrepresented compared to their numbers in the lab PI community. And so this was one of the originators of our lab early career research development grants for LDRDs. And thanks to these grants that went more to women scientists, SPIs, we now have actually more women PIs on LDRD projects than their numbers amongst the lab PI community. So these two things can be attributed to ideas that came out of WSEC and conversations that I had with WSEC. So we've come far, but we still have a lot of work to do. You have a proud legacy, and I'm looking forward to your next 13 years. Thank you. It has been a pleasure to serve as your executive sponsor. And now I want to turn it over to Mike Witherell, our lab director.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the annual Women at the Lab celebration. I want to say that our whole set of employee resource groups at the laboratory, which are expanding, are very important to our IDEA program and to how we work together as a community. And the recent events actually connecting with the Asian American and Pacific Islander ERG was an important example of that. So we all know it's important to honor the women at the lab who have made such a positive impact as we're doing today. It's also important in talking to the outside world that we value this impact. Lab recruiters take the women at the lab posters with them to job fairs and conferences, and it's a sign of how much we value these talents and these contributions. I would also like to say this year that along with many of us, I recently saw the film Picture a Scientist that we helped sponsor, and much of it was difficult to watch. I have worked successfully in my past at the university to separate a senior faculty member from the university over behavior that was similar to some of the stories there, and it was difficult to remember that history. This is a reminder that we still have a lot of work to do, and I know it from the university that it's not just in STEM disciplines that work needs to be done. It is important for women who want to join the lab, and we need at the lab, to see people who look like them among the scientific workforce and to see that they are treated well. So we're pleased that these awards help us to do that, and of course, give us the opportunity to honor the achievements of these 15 excellent women in science, engineering, and science support. And now I'd like to introduce one of our senior lab leaders, Associate Lab Director for Earth Environmental Sciences and Executive Co-Sponsor, as you heard, Susan Hubbard. Susan, take it away.
Thank you, Mike. And I'd also just like to thank the WSEC leadership for putting on this event and for all the many things that you've done, as Ina has talked about, and Horst and Mike. So thank you so much. I'm really honored to be an executive sponsor. I am starting out the citations to our awardees, starting with this first one here in the operations category. I'm thrilled to recognize and honor Sandy Chin. Sandy joined the lab in 2010, and she has served in a variety of scientific support roles ever since. Currently, she's a research administration manager where she oversees a team that provides both pre and post award support to our PIs and ESA. As an example, she is the project manager for both the Next Generation Ecosystem Experiment Tropics and the Arctic projects. These are large, complex, multi-institutional, team-based BER projects. She's also been instrumental in ESA in building a coherent and large summer internship program, as well as leading our area's postdoc and early career programs. Sandy's known in ESA as a serial operations innovator. From working with IT to develop a tool to manage the PMP process, to running training clinics for administrative staff, Sandy's clever and proactive approach to problem solving has been invaluable to the area and oftentimes to the entire lab. Please join me in congratulating Sandy on her outstanding achievements. So now I'll turn it over to Steve Cavan to present the next award.
I've had an interesting seat in this science diversity thing for the last 40 years or so. Some of you know what that means. And I have to admit, it's been an up and down thing, but I think I'm as optimistic as I've ever been. And I think I'm very optimistic. I know we have a lot of work to do, and I'm really glad to be here. The next award in the operations category goes to Ashley White. Ashley started at the lab in 2015 after 5 years serving in science policy advisory roles in the U.S. Senate and in the executive branch and in the nonprofit sector. Today, she serves as both the Director of Communications for the Advanced Light Source and as the Head of Strategic Development and Communications for the Energy Sciences area. She has established the ESA's mentoring program and introduced a popular series of virtual town hall meetings at the ALS. As one colleague noted, she ensures the best ideas collide, citing the examples of her development of the Charter Hill Symposium and Workshop series, which is, I guess, completed at this point. Ashley's extraordinary outreach activities have been recognized by both an LBNL Directors Award and the Materials Research Society's Woody White Service Award. And please join me in congratulating Ashley on her outstanding achievements. And let me see, next, I'd like to pass it over to Jeff Neaton to present the next award.
Good afternoon. So thanks, Steve. It's a real pleasure to present this third award in the operations category to Melissa Summers. Since joining the lab in 2010, Melissa has been a visible, inclusive, and accomplished leader for many of our most important programs, including the lab's early climate research initiative, Carbon Cycle 2.0. She's currently the Area Deputy for Energy Sciences, where she provides critical support annually to more than 700 researchers and ops staff, and 2 of the lab's 5 user facilities, the Advanced Light Source and the Molecular Foundry. Melissa is a sought-after mentor by Berkeley Lab staff at all levels. In addition to actively working with scientific and operations staff in our area and across the lab, she's informally mentored many of the energy sciences area's science deputies and division directors, and even the ALD, on nuances of communicating with DOE. And she's helped to develop our area's early career LDRD program, which has led to the hiring of several really outstanding staff while increasing the diversity of the workforce, of our workforce. Please join me in congratulating Melissa for her outstanding achievements. And I'll now turn it over to Horst Simon to present the next award.
Thank you, Jeff. The final award in this category goes to Colette Flood. Since 2010, Colette has effectively managed the lab's suite of DOE-funded programs in higher education, and many of her approaches have been adopted by other national labs as best practices. She's a strong advocate for the advancement of these programs with DOE leadership. Last year, she successfully shifted her program to a virtual mode so that the lab was able to continue the summer students' valuable opportunities to get to know our scientists and our research. She worked hard to establish the Lab Ambassador program, which advances outreach efforts aimed at increasing underrepresented populations at the lab. She personally takes very seriously her role as an ambassador and has partnered with many regional organizations, taking special care to volunteer her time with groups that serve groups historically underrepresented in STEM fields. The number and quality of her collaborations with community groups is very impressive. And she also leads partnerships with Cal Teach at UC Berkeley and the Oakland's Park Recreation and Youth Department. Her involvement with these organizations helps spread the word about the lab and helps us to stay closely connected to our local communities. Please join me in congratulating Colette on her outstanding achievement. And now I'll turn it over to Paul Adams to present the next award.
Thank you, Horst. So this is a set of awards for senior career women. And the first award in this category goes to Junko Yano, who is also the Science Deputy for Molecular Biophysics Integrated Bioimaging Division and a PI for the Liquid Sunlight Alliance. That's the hub formerly known as JCAP. Junko is a world leader in the use of X-ray spectroscopy and crystallography to understand biological and inorganic systems. She's widely known for her pioneering studies of how plants use light to split water and converting that light into chemical energy. And Junko's methods for using X-ray free electron lasers to study catalytic systems have really revolutionized the way scientists study structure-function relationships under close to physiological conditions. This work has led to several groundbreaking publications over the last 10 years, adding to her over 200 papers. In addition to this groundbreaking research, Junko is an exceptional mentor and a role model for postdocs, students, and technical staff. I know that she goes to great lengths to teach her students and group members the complex methods that are central to their work. And so please join me in congratulating Junko on her outstanding achievements. And now I'll turn it over to Ravi Prasher to present the next award.
Thank you, Paul. The next award goes to Jessica Granderson, a staff scientist and the Deputy of Research Programs for the Buildings Technology and Urban Systems Division, who has been with the lab since 2007. Jessica co-developed the Sensor Suitcase, a licensed turnkey solution which identifies energy savings in small commercial buildings. She also developed methodologies in use by the utility program industry to improve and verify the rigor of meter-based saving estimates. She has been incredibly productive, publishing more than 19 research articles, reports, and conference proceedings, and book chapters just in the past year. She's an exemplary steward of her staff's career development and is just as dedicated to the growth and mentoring of her students, particularly supports those from groups historically underrepresented in STEM. Please join me in congratulating Jessica for her achievements. Now I'll turn it over to Natalie Rowe to present the next award.
Thank you, Ravi. I am very happy to be here today and to see WSEC continuing to thrive and support women at the lab. And I'm very honored to present the next award to Barbara Yachek, one of the most prominent and recognized scientists in the field of nuclear physics. Barbara served as the lab's division director for nuclear science for 6 years, stepping down just last month and leaving the division in great shape. She is also professor of physics at UC Berkeley, and she's been widely recognized for her stellar leadership and significant contributions to large physics experiments, including the Phoenix detector at Brookhaven's relativistic heavy ion collider, which involved 500 scientists. It was during the Phoenix experiment that Barbara co-discovered the quark-gluon plasma, an important clue to the creation of the universe. Barbara received one of the first DOE Office of Science Distinguished Scientist Fellowships last year and use that to help her launch a UC coalition that will contribute to the design and construction of a new detector at the Electron Ion Collider, or EIC, which is just starting construction in Brookhaven. The EIC will further enhance our understanding of the inner workings of the nuclei at the quark and gluon level. In addition to her very impressive research, Barbara is also a dedicated mentor. Her students excel in their research and later on succeed in finding jobs or taking the next steps in their careers. Please, everyone, join me in congratulating Barbara on her outstanding achievements. Now, I'd like to turn it over to Susanna Tringe.
Thank you, Natalie. I am excited to bestow the first award in our mid-career category to Diane Dickel, who is the department head for comparative and functional genomics in the Environmental Genomics and Systems Biology division. As a staff scientist in the biosciences area, Diane's work to combine advanced genomic techniques with cutting-edge genome editing approaches in the mouse model has contributed major advances to functional genomics. She has a remarkable publication record, including a series of 5 Nature papers in the same issue, one of which was the cover story. In addition, Diane, along with Len Pinocchio and Axel Wiesel, provides substantial leadership for the mammalian functional genomics group, and her outstanding scientific vision, organizational skills, and inclusive style have been critical to enabling the success of what is now known as the world's largest mouse transgenic pipeline for regulatory genomics. And please join me in congratulating Diane on her outstanding achievements.
Thanks, Susanna. This is Jonathan Carter. I'm delighted to present the next award in this category, which goes to Lavanya Ramakrishnan. Lavanya is a senior scientist in the computing sciences area, whose brother first introduced her to programming at an early age. And she started at the lab in 2009 as a Luis Alvarez postdoctoral fellow. Her research focuses on developing generalized methods and tools to manage workflows and data while working closely with scientific groups. Lavanya is known internationally as an innovative leader. Her many accomplishments include pioneering a program that looked at how scientists and communities use data and workflows to build usable tools for science, influence the design of next generation HPC systems, and exploring the utility of cloud computing for science. Lavanya is also a dedicated mentor for both early and mid-career scientists and has played a leadership role in many of our career advancement training programs. So please join me in congratulating Lavanya on this outstanding achievement. Thanks. Now I'll turn it over to Polly Arnold to present the next award.
Thank you, Jonathan. The final award in the mid-career category goes to Francesca Toma, a staff scientist in the energy sciences area. Francesca's outstanding scientific achievements are represented by her more than 80 publications and an impressively high H-index of 43. An internationally recognized scientist, she has also made significant contributions to JCAP, now known as LISA, where she works closely with researchers and theorists to tackle open challenges in the field of photocatalysis. Francesca is also a tireless champion of diversity, helping to establish a cross-divisional mentorship program and building bridges from community colleges to the lab for transfer students. She is a fierce advocate of her mentees who go to great lengths to see them succeed and advance. Please join me in congratulating Francesca on her outstanding achievements. Now I'll turn it over to Susan Hubbard to present the next award.
Thank you, Polly. So our first awardee in the early career category is Laura Lammers. Laura also just recently received a prestigious DOE Early Career Research Program Award, ECRP, from BES. Laura is a faculty scientist in the Earth and Environmental Sciences area and also an assistant professor on campus at UC Berkeley in ESPM, Environmental Science Policy and Management. A geochemist, Laura has made significant contributions to quantifying the chemistry of interfaces between solids and fluids, working across molecular to macro scales to tackle challenges that are relevant to a wide range of both energy and environmental geoscience challenges. She also finds time to direct Berkeley Connect, a large mentorship program for Berkeley undergrads. A Texas native, Laura has 2 young children with a 3rd one on the way very, very soon. Please join me in congratulating Laura on her outstanding achievements. So now I'll hand it over to Jeff Neaton to present the next award.
Great. Thanks so much, Susan. So next up in this category is Mary Scott. Mary's done pioneering research to help position the National Center of Electron Microscopy at the Molecular Foundry as a worldwide leader in atomic electron tomography. So impressively, her work provides perhaps the most detailed experimental view of the structure of a solid available, imaging every atom in 3 dimensions to a fraction of a Bohr radius. Mary's a faculty scientist in the energy sciences area and at the Molecular Foundry. And she's an assistant professor of material science and engineering at UC Berkeley. She also leads outreach programs for underserved high school students and mentors a range of others. In 2019, she received the NSF, the much sought after NSF Faculty Early Career Development Program Award. This is the so-called NSF Career Award, kind of on par with the Early Career Award that DOE awards. Please join me in congratulating Mary on her outstanding achievements. So I'll now turn it over to Paul Adams to present the next award.
Thank you, Jeff. Our first award in this technical category honors Ruchira Chatterjee, currently a staff research associate who joined the lab in 2013 as a postdoc. Ruchira uses time-resolved X-ray crystallography and spectroscopy to understand the chemistry of water oxidation in plants, algae, and cyanobacteria. A nominator called her a key driver of the scientific process of their group. She was instrumental in the development of the Yano, Yachandra, and Kearns groups' measurements of biological samples at X-ray free electron lasers. Due in part to Ruchira's important contributions, this LBL team is considered one of the top groups worldwide in photosynthesis research. She's a prolific author whose papers have appeared in Nature and other prestigious journals. Her dedication to excellent science is matched only by her commitment to undergraduate and graduate training and mentoring. She is generous in sharing her time and advice, and as one of her mentees said, she has been a steadfast source of support. So please join me in congratulating Ruchira on her outstanding achievements.
So our next award goes to Carolina Araujo Barclios, a scientific engineering associate involved in multiple projects at the Advanced Biofuels and Bioproducts Process Demonstration Unit, ABPDU, and in collaboration with JBay, the Joint Bioenergy Institute. Carolina joined the lab in 2018 and focuses on development and optimization of processes to produce high-performance fuels and other molecules through fermentation, and then scaling up these processes from lab to pilot implementation. Before joining ABPDU, she spent nearly 3 years as a postdoc fellow at JBay. Recently, she led the first scale up of the one-pot ionic liquid deconstruction and alcoholic fermentation from woody biomass. In addition to her research, which can involve working late night shifts during fermentation campaigns, Carolina has led her area's ideas effort, organizing the first ever psychological safety survey at LBNL. Psychological safety is critical in maintaining an inclusive and equitable workplace, and so it's important to be able to measure it. Initially, a pilot survey at ABPDU, Carolina is working with the DEI office to make this tool available across the lab. Carolina is also an enthusiastic division representative on several IDEA committees. Great. Please join me in congratulating Carolina on her outstanding achievements. And now I'd like to ask Brandon to present our next award.
Thank you, Susan. So really what a pleasure it is to be part of this exciting event, and congratulations to WSEC and all the awardees. Our final award in the technical category is my friend and colleague, Liana Klavansky, a Principal Scientific Engineering Associate in the Molecular Foundry. Talking about Liana's accomplishment is like reading the back of an all-star baseball card. There's just so many really, really impressive statistics. Liana has been a critical part of the Molecular Foundry for 14 years, joining us shortly after the doors opened to help provide an equity of research opportunities to scientists from around the world. Each year, Liana supports around 30 user projects and holds more than 100 trainings to help users operate safely and effectively in the Foundry's organic and macromolecular synthesis facility. All this while maintaining 11 instruments to ensure year-round user access. Liana also manages an inventory of around 5,000 chemicals in the facility, many of which are time and air sensitive. She is well known in the Berkeley Lab community for her high safety standards and is often consulted by the lab's EH&S division. Finally, Liana has recently taken on a divisional leadership position as the newly appointed chair of the Foundry's DEI committee. Please join me in congratulating Liana on her outstanding achievements. And now I'll turn it back over to Liz to start the breakout sessions.
Great, thank you, everyone. We have 3 breakout rooms. Breakout room 1, we've named ALS. Breakout room 2, we've named cyclotron, and breakout room 3, molecular foundry. So in the ALS room, you could chat with, ask questions of Ashley White, Francesca Toma, Liana, Ruchira, and Barbara. In the cyclotron room, we have Carolina, Jessica, Mary, Sandy, and Colette. And then in breakout room 3, molecular foundry is what we're calling it. We have the panelists, the honorees, Diane, Lavanya, Melissa, Laura, and Junko. So what we're going to do now is open up the breakout rooms. You can choose whichever room you'd like to go to. There will be a moderator in each room. So in ALS, you can see it will be Jeff Neaton, cyclotron, Susanna Tringe, and molecular foundry, Brandon Rao. So I'm going to open the breakout rooms now, and you can go ahead and choose your room. And then each room will start their own sessions for about 30 minutes or so. All right, have fun, everyone.